Bam, 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 bam. Alright. Kazuha as 8 is crazy. It just is what it is, man. Shilonen's release has given Kazuha a lot of competition. Lanyon's release has given Kazuha competition. Natlan teams have been... Like, the strong Natlan teams have, like, all been reaction-based, and therefore like Sucrose more than Kazuha. And grouping has been pretty much worthless for the past 6 months. Anyways, the reason why Fischl is here is because Fischl is a really good character. Fischl is the main reason why Pyro characters are good with Chivalrous. Fuck, she's the main reason why Electro characters are good with Chivalrous. You play Fischl in every Chivalrous team! Sarah better than Fischl? Okay, stop coping, Jamie. But yeah, Fischl is like single-handedly responsible for enabling Aggravate to be as good as it is. But Aggravate isn't that great, but it is still pretty good. And Fischl is also very strong in Chivalrous teams. If Fischl still had Turbo, she'd be hard. Bro, if Fischl had Turbo with Chivalrous being out, that would be insane, man. That would actually be insane. God. What is Turbo? There used to be a bug with Fischl's particle generation where when Oz triggered a reaction, he generated one additional particle for every enemy hit by that reaction. And so you would fucking turbo battery everyone on your team. Back then, you'd play 0 ER, Bennett, Changling, Beidou, Fischl, and it was one of the best teams in the game. Anyways, Fischl is an overall very, very strong character, but pretty much all the like really good characters that have Fischl in their teams are relatively versatile and have alternative teams that don't use Fischl. Often stronger teams that don't use Fischl. So, Sucrose and Kazuha, like I said earlier, the main reason why I put them relatively low, like, keep in mind, this is still fucking 9th and 8th best unit in the game, right? Like, this is still really good. But the reason why I put them comparatively lower than the other units here is because there's just a lot more competition for the slot, right? We've already talked about how Resistance Shred is something that does not scale well with itself at all. What that means is that you're very rarely running more than one Resistance Shred unit, and if you are, each of them is effectively giving less. When you look at the teams that want Res Shred, generally, mono teams, pre-Natlan, pretty much all wanted Kazuha. But Chilonen is often just better now in mono teams. Reaction teams, like Sucrose, and Sucrose is the Res Shredder that is giving the highest maximum potential amount of buffs. But most teams don't use all of those buffs. Like the highest possible amount of buffs that you can get from Sucrose is obviously the 230-ish EM you can get from her passives. I guess it'll be less than that if you're going for max buffs. 200-ish EM you get from her passives. TDDS, VV, and C6 buff. Obviously, most of the time, if you're getting the C6 buff, you're not benefiting particularly from the reaction buffs through EM. So the C6 buff is unreliable. So that one is kind of fake. It's relevant in Aggravate teams, but not in other teams. But the EM buff plus CDDS plus VV makes it so that the amount of buffs that she gives is the highest out of any Res Shredder. But compared to Chilonen, she still has much shorter uptime. The biggest upside that she has over the other Res Shredders is that she's the one with the shortest animations, and that she's the one with the highest like ceiling for buffs. But unlike the other animal options, her grouping isn't all that significant. It's there and it's impactful, but it's not a great. It's more of a great tool for stagger than it is a good tool for grouping. It's not bad for grouping, but the stagger tends to make a bigger difference than the grouping. But yeah, both Kazuha and Sucrose are pretty good, but the release of a lot of different alternatives makes them worse than they used to be. I'd say that Shilonen's release is the main reason why I'm putting them below Nahida. I think. And then part of that is because I personally consider there being a lot of alternatives to a unit to be a significant factor in terms of how good they are as a whole. Right? There's no alternative to Nahida. Nahida's pretty much the only unit that does what she does. There's some units that can try to do what Nahida does, but they're all shit. It's not really that they're shit, is that like she's just outright broken in terms of her balance. Hyperloom teams are just too fucking good. Hyperloom teams don't tend to do as well at high investment as a lot of other teams, but they tend to be so strong at low investment, and they're still good at high investment. They're still strong teams. Even if Hyperloom teams haven't really gotten better since Nahida came out, they're still just that good. And Hyperloom teams tend to be playable in pretty much every single abyss. There's gonna be abysses where it's not, like, optimal, but it's always playable. Anyways, Hyperloom is just real good. Yeah, and then there's also the fact that Hyperloom teams are just really easy to play. There's the infamous Hyperbloom sim where the configuration is like roll a number from 1 to 4, swap to the character of that number, use whatever bursts and or skills are available, do a normal attack, and swap out. That's the configuration. And it's like more than enough DPS to clear Abyss DPS requirements. It's like it's so funny, but like it's a pretty big deal. Like Hyperloom is idiot proof. You can't fuck up a hyper. Like you can fuck things up, but you can't fuck up to the point that it's not good. Unless you die. But guess what? You play Sing Zhou in Hyperbloom. How the fuck are you dying? Sorry. But yeah, Nahida just fucking she pulls her weight. And then on top of that, unlike the other tools for Hyperbloom, Nahida does see some new teams here and there, right? The Molani teams, Double Dendro Molani teams can use Nahida. The Molani Mawika teams can use Nahida. Technically, Kanich can use Nahida if you don't have Emily, and that's fine. Overall, Nahida is just a pretty good unit. Burn Melt as well, sure. Sure. If you want to play Risley or Ganyu, sure. But, like, yeah. Why would you run Nahida with Kanich? Particle generation plus not terrible off-field damage plus TTDS plus arguably the best Deepwood holder plus maybe there wasn't. I don't know. Yeah, boost. No, that doesn't matter. Is there a reason why Arlecchino isn't on here? I talked about Arlecchino. You can check the VOD, but basically she's a carry, so she's not in here. The bar for carries is a lot higher than the bar for supports. So Arlecchino doesn't make it. Even if Nahida had no text on her kid, just holding TDDS and applying Dendro would make her a great support. True. Next! Okay, this is gonna be controversial, I think. I think this is gonna be really controversial. Listen. Listen, okay? Between Citlali-less Mawika and Arlecchino with Citlali, I would pick Arlecchino with Citlali without even having to think about it. The best unit in Mawika teams is Citlali. Well, no, it's Bennett, but like, the best 5-star in Mawika teams is Citlali. No, it's not, it's Shalona. Whatever! Shit! Mawika's the worst unit on her teams! Okay, what do you want me to say? Citlali is a pretty specific support, but what she provides is insane. Like, the amount that she provides is insane. And she's a specific support that is pretty much designed for one of the best 2 carries in the game. And she works really well with a 3rd best carry in the game. And she works pretty well with the best carry in the game. C1 to C2 Furina is what people think C0 Furina is. Yeah, I agree, Jamie. I 100% agree with that. I think people heavily overestimate what Furina's doing. Furina is that good in Neuvillette teams, but they're the only teams where Furina is that good. She enables Maréchal C on everyone as well. Sure. But artifact power creep is a thing, and we're not in Fontaine anymore, bozo. Codex my goat. And she's not an Atlan character, so she can't use Cinder City. Fucking loser. She's far more versatile than Citlali. Sure she is. I don't disagree with that. But I've already explained that I don't value versatility that much. I think it's useful for sure. But when it comes to how strong a unit is overall, I'd rather have a unit like Farazan than a unit like Zhongli. If you have 2 units that fulfill a similar role, and one of them is more versatile and the other one is stronger, like more powerful, which one of them is better? Well, it depends on how much more versatile and how much stronger. Is Furina a good amount more versatile? Yeah, but she does have a caveat to that. She warps your team building requirements and forces you to build healers, which in a lot of teams is difficult. There's quite a few teams where including a healer on your team forces you to play worse units. Not all of them, don't get me wrong, but there's a few. So while she is more versatile, she is not at her best in that many teams. Shalona help with that a lot, that's fair. But how much more value is Citlali providing at her best compared to Furina at her best? A lot. A fucking lot. The buffs are significantly bigger. The application enables stronger reactions. And she provides an okay-ish amount of defensive utility. If Citlali's stuff didn't line up well with Arlecchino, I think you could make the argument that she's too specifically made for Mawika, and that makes her incredibly limited in versatility. But, like, Citlali is the best teammate for multiple Pyro characters. She's unequivocally the best teammate. Well, maybe not the best teammate, but part of the best team for the best 2 Pyro carries, and for what I personally consider to be the 3rd best Pyro carry, although I think it's fair to say I think it's fair to disagree. But I think Gumming is the 3rd best Pyro carry now, and he's even more reliant on Citlali than the other 2 are. I actually think Gumming is more reliant on Citlali than he is on Bennett now. I'd much rather play a Gumming team without Bennett than a Gumming team without Citlali. In this chat, we hate Hutao just because she doesn't say nice and spicy. True. Sorry, the sun's starting to be on that side, which is kind of annoying. Anyways, honestly, the main reason why I have Citlali above Furina is because Furina's ass for Arlecchino, and honestly not that great for Mawika. And while I would say she's better than Citlali for Neuvillette, Citlali is still pretty damn good for Neuvillette. Furina is the uncontested savior for all the characters below the top tier. Is she? Like who? Like, whom does she save? Wait, it's all Bennett always has been? Yeah, true. Chow? People overestimate how important Farina is to Chow teams. There's not that much of a difference between the Farina Chow teams and the no Farina Chow teams. Chaska, Sitlali's better. Al-Hytham isn't reliant on Farina at all. He's not bad without her, and he's not even that good with her. And then Wanderer, I mean, same thing, kinda. Like, it's Farizona's, yeah. I do think you're underselling Farina. I mean, buddy, she's still number 5. You know, like, this isn't low at all. There's just a lot of good units in this game. She's 4 on my list, so I think you're greatly underestimating her. True! Shilonen is just too versatile. But more importantly, having Shred that works even if you fuck up your setups is so nice, dude. Like, man, is it so fucking nice. It's so nice. To be fair, Kernibus is so Shilonen propaganda. Is it? Because of the multi-wave stuff? Multi-wave is a downside for Kazuha, there's no propaganda. Yeah, I guess. Anyways, and then the last 2 units. In this Abyss specifically, Neuvillette isn't that great, but in this Abyss specifically, Neuvillette is like out of the top 10, yeah. The biggest thing with Neuvillette is just a character with teams that do that much damage should not be that easy to play. That's not okay. That's not okay. I don't think Maoika is particularly hard to play. Sure, but like, the thing about Neuvillette isn't just that he's hard, is that he's easy to play, it's that he's trivial to play. How is Neuvillette higher than Bennett? Half of the roster needs him. Sure, but Neuvillette doesn't need Bennett. If Neuvillette was an attack scaler that wanted Bennett, I'd have Bennett above, sure. But the best carry doesn't want Bennett. Bennett doesn't need Neuvillette. True. Personally, I'd rather play a no Neuvillette account than a no Bennett account. I mean, it depends on what else you have. But if you start a new account right now, and you have to choose between, I'm not allowed to use Bennett if I get him, versus I can't start with Neuvillette, I would use Neuvillette over Bennett, 100%. If you have every unit, and you want to play specific carries that use Bennett, then yeah, sure. But like, I don't know, man. The main reason why I value Neuvillette so highly is because I think that the Neuvillette teams are significantly better than the non-Neuvillette teams. Like, the best Neuvillette teams are significantly better than the non-Neuvillette teams as a whole. And Neuvillette helps you so much for your team building on your account. I'd take Maoika and Arlecchino Melt over Neuvillette team personally. I mean, I would rather play Maoika and Arlecchino. I think they're a lot more fun to play. But part of the reason for that is because when I'm playing Neuvillette, it doesn't feel like I'm playing a video game. It feels like I'm fucking watching a YouTube video. Because it's so easy. But like, all things considered, right? Like, or sorry. All that being said, it boils down to my subjective assessment that the comfort of Neuvillette matters more than the power of Bennett's best teams and his versatility. Right? That's what it boils down to. And this is a very subjective thing. I think it's very reasonable to have Bennett above Neuvillette, even if I don't. But yeah, so that's probably what my top 10 would be. We can compare the two if you want. Alright, so I have Shilonen 2 lower. I have Farina 3 lower. I have Bennett 1 higher. I have Kazuha 4 lower. I have Maoika 1 lower. I have Farina 3 lower. I have Neuvillette 5 higher. I have Sitlali 3 higher. I don't have Yelan or Zhongli. I have Nahida 3 higher. And instead of Yelan and Zhongli, I have Sucrose and Fischl. Didn't you say when you started this list that Bennett was number 1? Number 1, 4-star. Maybe I forgot to say that, but that's what I wanted to say. 1.04 stars remain undefeated. I mean, hey, they're slowly but surely getting phased out. Alright? Dingso's not in my top 10 anymore. Chanling's not in my top 10 anymore. Alright, like, 3 of these characters are from Natlan. These 3 characters would still be in the top 10 if it wasn't for the Natlan characters. I like your 10 more, I like his order more. Damn, that's crazy. So you think Sucrose and Fischl are better than Yelan and Zhongli, but you think you think I'm a Neuvillette Coper and a Citlali Coper? Sure. Reasonable take. I wonder what the biggest gap in this would be. Like, if I had to insert an empty tier to separate units, what would be the biggest gap between two units in here? Probably between Bennett and Shilonen. Yeah, definitely between Bennett and Shilonen. I think Shilonen is closer to Fischl than she is to Bennett. Where would Singso be on this list? We explained the, like, 5 characters below that, and it was in this order. For the 11 to 15. The other SIGs that I had initially, I didn't remove in order of, like, of weakest. But these 5 I did. If it was better than Arlecchino, yeah. Do 16 to 20 then? Sure. No Molani. I don't think you guys understand how much I fucking hate Molani. Raiden Sneak? This is Raiden in Hyperbloom, chat. Don't get me wrong, buddy. I'm not talking about fucking Emblem Raiden, okay? This is flop. This is flop Raiden. Don't you worry about that. I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start melting away. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming to stay. I gotta sing and I dance when I glance in my pants, and the feeling's like a sunshiny day. I take a look at my enormous penis, and everything is going my way.